Welcome to the Hammer Territory Podcast. My name is Shawn Coleman. Hope wherever you are and wherever you are listening, you are having an absolutely wonderful start to your week. The Braves are not playing baseball today, so hey, that's music to many, I'm sure, in Braves country right now. But we're going to set aside the disappointment that this year has been and have a bit of a celebratory edition of the Hammer Territory Podcast, a special edition of the Hammer Territory Podcast, as we celebrate the All-Star selections for three of the best Braves. Now, many may not think the Braves deserve that with the season that they're having, but we're going to get into why we feel these individuals definitely are deserving, and also what it means in the grand scheme of things when it comes to where they stack up at certain points in their career. And of course, as always, I'm joined by my podcast partner, one of the best in the game when it comes to covering not only the Braves, but the sport of baseball, Stephen Tolbert. You could have seen him recently on Foul Territory. Stephen, how are you doing, sir?
What's up, buddy? Yeah, we haven't been able to do a lot of positive celebratory episodes this year. It's just the nature of how it's gone. You know, we kind of pride ourselves as a podcast of being pretty realistic about where things are. And so most of the episodes we've done this year have not been all that positive because the team's been in the dumps most of the year. But we're going to take one episode to celebrate some of the positive things that have happened. When you make an all-star team, it's not a small thing. You know, it gets used in terms of deciding who makes the Hall of Fame. You know, when you get to judging careers at the end, like all-star selections get used in all of that. And so the Braves had three guys, obviously Acuna, Olsen, Sale. They probably had two more that could have been. I think Schwellenbach had a real case. I think Baldwin probably had a real case if he had played a little more. I think the only reason he's not is because he just didn't get the games played. That's not really his.
Dylan Lee, maybe.
Oh, and Dylan Lee, that's a good point. Yeah, so maybe six total. Dylan Lee definitely had a case. I think if he had been the primary closer all year, you know, the All-Star, they love like closers. They don't really love the setup guys, and I think that probably hurt him. So yeah, the Braves probably had six guys. They got three in. Schwellenbach would have been in if he didn't get hurt. But yeah, we're going to take a minute just to celebrate these guys because they have had good years. Some of them, you know, are capping off some, you know, Hall of Fame level careers. And, you know, it's good to celebrate that.
Absolutely. And let's jump right into it with the name that many kind of had hoped may even be able to start on the mound for the National League. But unfortunately, he's still going to get the distinction of All-Star, though he will not be in the actual game. That, of course, is Chris Sale, who earned his ninth All-Star appearance. And Steve and I, you know, me and you will both, you know, give a few facts here in the moment. But the first thing that stands out to me is you want to talk about someone who at the age of 35 is acquired by a new team. Now, I could go and look up some different statistical thresholds and all that about just how rare it is that a person at Sale's age is doing what he's doing for a new team in his mid-30s, but it speaks for itself. A second straight All-Star appearance. He comes off a Cy Young Award last year, was on his way to potentially being in contention this year, and as I mentioned, probably would have had a good case to start the game for the National League had he not got injured. A more than deserving nod for Chris Sale, who's just been absolutely phenomenal in his time in Atlanta.
Yeah, this was the one I was probably most unsure of because of when the injury happened. You know, the position players get voted on. You all right? Sure. Just it looked like you were in a hurricane there.
Sorry. Trying just to maneuver the computer to where it looks a bit better. So go ahead.
Just checking on my boy. So yeah, Sale was the one I was unsure of because he got hurt at a really awkward time. The position players get voted on by fans, but like the starting pitchers, the reserves, that's done by the league and by the players. I wasn't sure if Sale was going to get the nod. I'm really happy he did. It's a big honor. Obviously, you could hear the way he talked about it. You know, he did interviews with Bowman and DLB, both had articles on it today. And he was proud. And even though he's not going to be able to pitch, that sucks. He was extremely proud of it, and he should be. And, you know, we're going to talk about it. You've got a cool stat about starting. I think he would have started had he not been hurt. Obviously, the game's in Atlanta. You know, Chris Sale is one of the legacy pitchers in the game, kind of along with Kershaw and Scherzer and Verlander. And, you know, he's one of those guys. And I think he would have gotten the nod, which would have been really cool. It sucks he got hurt, man. I mean, just such a freak injury, kind of just randomly diving for a ball. really kind of robbed us of what would have been a cool moment. I know it's been a down season, but that still would have been a cool moment to see Chris Sale potentially start in an Atlanta Braves jersey in Truist Park for the All-Star game. But still a big honor. And it's ninth All-Star selection. He made it 7 straight years between 2012 and 2018. Then obviously started dealing with injuries, and now he's made it both years he's been in Atlanta. And that trade just continues to be the gift that keeps on giving. And again, it sucks he got hurt, but it should be a relatively, it's not a long-term injury. So hopefully he's got a couple more All-Stars in the works for, his time in Atlanta. Hopefully it's not, hopefully it's a couple more years in the making.
Absolutely. And, when it comes to Chris Sale, like when you start looking, you mentioned 9 all-star appearances, and we think of position players and you think to yourself, okay, 9's not necessarily all that much. Well, again, because of the fact that there's a little bit more selectivity in the process I don't know if selectivity is a word, but there's a bit more complexity in the process when it comes to pitchers. 9 stands out a bit more for pitchers, that level, than it does for hitters. As a matter of fact, Chris Sale is only the 11th pitcher in Major League Baseball history to have 9 all-star appearances. He also is only the 4th active player to have that distinction. We just mentioned him, Clayton Kershaw, Justin Verlander, as well as Max Scherzer. But where it gets a little bit more, kind of cool with Chris Sale is what he's done throughout his career by being an all-star for multiple teams. I believe there may be 1 or 2 others, but I believe that Chris Sale and Roger Clemens, only 2 pitchers in baseball history who have had multiple all-star appearances for 3 or more teams. Clemens did it with 4 different teams. Sale has now done it with 3 different teams. Again, that there may be others who have done it out there just from some limited research that I did. But the other thing that we're kind of missing out on is that, as Stephen had mentioned, if Chris Sale would have gotten the start, I believe that he would have been the first player in baseball history to have started an all-star game as a member of 3 different organizations. He did it for the White Sox twice. He did it for the Red Sox. He did it 3 straight years from 16 to 18. And he also would have done it this year. Maybe he'll get to do it in the next year or 2. I know that's a lot of stats and everything, but it shows just how rare of a career Chris Sale is having when it comes to the consistency of him being among the elite in his peer group. That, to me, is what stands out from all those numbers, Stephen, and it's really awesome to see him doing it now. He's basically had 2 peaks of his career now with the Braves and obviously back, at the latter end of last decade with the White Sox and Red Sox.
Yeah, that's the cool part, is that he's come back after 5 years basically of being hurt at different times, multiple different injuries, and he's come back better than ever. I mean, this version of Chris Sale is as good as we've ever seen. I mean, he's still throwing the ball almost as hard. He can still touch 97, 98. His fastball velocity is actually exactly the same this year as it was last year. And like, if you go back to like 2018, he's still in that exact same range of, he averages about 95, but he can jump it up to 97, 98, even 99 when he needs it. The slider is every bit as devastating as it's ever been. You can just tell. You can watch hitters and tell who good pitchers are. Like, you honestly don't even need the numbers. You can just watch hitters and they'll tell you who the good pitchers are. And when guys get in the box to face that slider, you'll never see guys take more uncomfortable, awkward swings. I mean, he's just devastating. And, I think we're going to talk about his Hall of Fame stuff here in a minute, but like, he really has built, and I'm glad he's getting to finish it with the Braves. And again, I hope we're not at the end. I hope there's another 2 or 3 years of this, that he's going to be able to cement a Hall of Fame career with the Braves. And, again, I hate that he's not going to be able to pitch in the home ballpark, to Atlanta fans. That would have been really cool, but still being a selection and kind of restarting your career basically where you left it off. And now, like you said, he would have started. I mean, if he not gotten hurt, he would have started this game. They would have definitely allowed him to do that in Atlanta. And like you said, he would have been the first guy ever to start 3 all-star games with 3 different teams. That would have been incredible. And it's it's amazing how good this guy is. And, obviously the Braves got him for dirt cheap. They got him for Vaughn Grissom. The Red Sox even paid his salary last year. It's just incredible. He's been incredible. I hate that he got hurt, but congrats to Chris Sale. It's just a testament to how unbelievable he's been for how long he's been, that he's ninth. Also, like you said, it's not easy for pitchers to make the All-Star team. It's much different than position players. And 9 All-Stars over a career is absurd work.
Yeah, now also, clarified a bit more, that he's one of 11, pitchers who have mainly been starting pitchers who have had 9+ All-Stars. And again, that, research about him, potentially being the first to ever start 3 All-Star or to start an All-Star game as part of 3 organizations. There may have been someone else that did that. But setting that to the side, all that was meant to paint the picture of how rare it is that someone has done what Chris Sale has done in his career. And I want to end with this point, is that when you look at active pitchers, when you look to tier in terms of a historical context, active pitchers, there's 3 giants. There's 3 giants. There's Kershaw, there's Verlander, and Max Scherzer. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you, Chris Sale can make it to where there's a Mount Rushmore of active pitchers right now. If you want to put him on a tier below, that's fine. But he shares that tier by himself. Due to the injuries that he had from 2019 to 2023, he's not going to have the counting numbers that those 3 other guys I mentioned have. But in terms of the quality metrics, he's right there with them. Strikeouts per 9 innings, overall effectiveness, the consistency of being an elite pitcher, it's all there. And when you mentioned, we've talked about, I think the magic number for Sale to be without a doubt a Hall of Famer is 3,000 strikeouts. He needs about 450 more. I think he'll get there. But in addition to that, the All-Star appearances, how many he started, the fact that he started 3 in a row and how rare that's been, this is just another bullet point on that resume that without a doubt in my mind makes Chris Sale a clear Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you and I have talked about this before about, pitcher wins and how, the standard used to be 300 wins, and it's just not a number we're going to see anymore. The game has changed. Teams don't care about pitcher wins. It's just not a number that accumulates the way it used to. And so we're going to have to use something else. And strikeouts feel like a pretty strong, like, this is the number we should be using. And Chris Sale is at 2,500, like you just said. And I think even if he doesn't get to 2,500, or if he doesn't get to 3,000, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's so close already, just with he's got the peak where he was the best pitcher on the planet Earth for a substantial amount of time. He's got the World Series ring with Boston. He was also just nails in that entire postseason. I want to say he actually closed. Didn't he close the game?
He closed the game, yeah.
Yeah, he closed out.
Yep.
Yeah, with the Red Sox. He closed the World Series out. So he was a monster in that postseason. He's not going to have the wins, but, voters are going to have to get over that for the next ever. Like, we're not going to have 300 wins again. And at 2,500 strikeouts, and again, he's not done. Like, he could easily get to 3,000 strikeouts over the next 2.5 years. It sucks he's going to miss so much time this year. He could have really knocked a chunk of that out. But yeah, I think he is a Hall of Famer. And like you said, those other 3 guys, Verlander, Kershaw, Scherzer, are no doubt Hall of Famers. They didn't have the big 5-year gap of injuries that Sale did. If Sale didn't have that, this is this conversation is a foregone conclusion. With that gap is kind of where the question comes in. But I think even with that, he's been so good, and he's not done. Again, he still looks as good as he's ever looked. I think he's going to be in.
Absolutely. But of course, Chris Sale is not the only Brave who certainly deserves some recognition for not only what he's done this year, but also what it means in terms of the context of his career. We'll discuss Matt Olson in just a moment, who will be making his 3rd All-Star game and I believe his second 3 years with the Braves. But first, a word from our partners.
Kratz, we talk about HelloFresh a lot, but in the same fam is another option for you if you're looking to go on your little wellness journey or you're very picky in terms of what you're looking for ingredients-wise. You can go Green Chef this summer.
And I can heat and eat because this summer I've got like 3 days where I'm not doing anything. I'm sure those are going to get scheduled with something. Let's give me something super quick that I can heat up. The whole family's eating healthy and they're full.
Menus change weekly, 80-plus dietitian-approved weekly meal options. Green Chef makes it easy to find those meals to fit your lifestyle, so go check it out. FT Fam, There is an exclusive offer. Make this summer your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Head to greenchef.com/50territory and use code 50territory to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50territory at greenchef.com/50territory.
Come talk ball with the Foul Territory crew on Chat BCC at foulterritory.chat. We're hanging out with the fans, answering questions, hosting trivia, and running giveaways like 2 free MLB tickets up to $400 in value and a free MLB jersey of your choice. Got a hot take or a burning question? Drop it in the chat. We might even feature it on the show. It is free to join. You can go to foulterritory.chat. That is foulterritory.chat, and come hang out.
So, Stephen, we go from Chris Sale to a bit more polarizing. If you were to talk to some in Braves country figure, we're not going to get into that. It's just funny that he's even polarizing at all. And that, of course, is Matt Olson. Matt Olson earning his 3rd All-Star selection, his 2nd in 3 years with the Braves. And listen, 2023 was an absolutely monster campaign for Matt Olson. He's not to that level, but this year it's been a bit more well-rounded. He still is doing pretty good damage with the bat, but what stands out is the overall impact he's making with the glove as well. He right now is the most valuable first baseman in baseball, according to Fangraphs, and that really has a lot to do with his defense. But more than anything, in a season where so much has gone wrong with the Braves, Matt Olson has stood out above and beyond as being a clear sign of positive production and definitely deserving of this All-Star nod.
Yeah, I'm glad. I mean, it is a shame the way Matt gets talked about by Braves fans. Not all Braves fans, I should say. A small section of Braves fans who just will never get over Freddie Freeman. And I don't care who you blame for Freddie Freeman not being here, whether it's Alex Anthopoulos or Freddie or his agent, whoever it is. Who I know you shouldn't blame is Matt Olson. Matt Olson had nothing to do with it. He was traded here, remember. And all he's done is produce. Like, I understand he's a little bit more streaky, but overall, like, you can't argue with the numbers. And this year he's been fantastic. He's got a 140 WRC plus. He's been one of the best defensive first basemen in baseball, if not the best. Leads all first basemen in WAR. And like, if you look at how much he got voted on by Atlanta Braves fans, like, I think he got fewer votes than Ozzie Albies, which is just crazy. Like, this guy just does not get the respect that he deserves. And so I'm glad his peers understand how good he is and gave him the reserve spot. Honestly, I mean, he had an argument to be the starter. Quite honestly, he probably should be starting this game. But listen, he's on the team and he's getting the recognition, and he is fantastic. And I understand he is streaky, and he'll be the first to tell you that. And I'll understand that there was a time earlier in the year where he was not going well. The team was not doing well, and people piled on even more. But, he got hot, and he got his numbers back up to where they should be, where I expect him to be. I expect Matt Olson to be a 135, 140 WRC plus level hitter. Like, that's his talent level. That's what I expect. And he wasn't that last year. He had a down year last year. And I just had a feeling that he was going to bounce back. Obviously, he had that massive 2023, almost certainly going to be his career year. I mean, I don't see him passing 54 homers and almost a 7-win season and a 160 WRC plus and all the ridiculous numbers he put up in 2023. But I do expect him to be what he is this year, which is a 140 WRC plus, 5-win, 40 homer, 35, 40 homer first baseman. And that's what he's been, and with really good defense. And that guy deserves to be an all-star. That guy deserves respect from his fan base. I don't care who the first baseman was before that. That guy deserves respect. And you can tell that he has the respect of his peers. He has respect around the league. I hope he does the home run derby. That would be incredible. Scott and I talked about that on Sunday, if him and Acuna both did the home run derby. But that guy deserves respect. And there's just too many people in this fan base that don't respect him. And it pisses me off. And I'm glad he's getting the recognition. His third All-Star appearance, much deserved. Congrats, Matt. I'm glad he got in. I was pissed how the voting went. He didn't get enough respect in the voting, but he got in as a reserve, and it's much, much deserved.
So let's put it into context because I don't think that this is discussed enough when it comes to Matt Olson. Over the past decade, Matt Olson is a top 3 first baseman in baseball, according to F4. You've got Freddie Freeman and you've got Paul Goldschmidt, 2 likely Hall of Famers who are clearly, again, they're on their own tier. But below that is Matt Olson, and he's on his own tier. So again, top 3 first basemen over the past decade. Since joining the Braves in 2022, he's the second most valuable first baseman in the game, according to FR, trailing Freddie Freeman. And again, I know we won't get into that discussion. If because of that, you still feel disappointment that the Braves acquired Matt Olson, it's a flawed perspective, and the problem lies with you. And that's where I'll leave that. But the even more impressive point of this is the fact that Matt Olson is one of 5 first basemen through age 31 in their career, one of 5 position players who were primarily first basemen in Major League history to have hit 275 home runs, have an 850 or better career OPS, and have 35 or better BWAR through the age of 31. I know that's a lot of criteria, but this is a list of names who he's on that list with. Lou Gehrig, Eddie Murray, Fred McGriff, Mark Teixeira, and Matt Olson. Now, I know that Olson compares with Teixeira a bit more than he does the other 3, but that just goes to show the company that Matt Olson has kept up to this point in his career. We're not just talking about a first baseman who's had a good 2 or 3 career years. We're legitimately talking about a career that right now may not necessarily be on a Hall of Fame trajectory, but if he continues to produce well into his 30s, he definitely could be on that trajectory. The quality is there with the quantity. And the other really cool thing about it, he keeps getting better. He's having the best defensive year of his career. And to me, one other part of his overall game, Stephen, that's not talked about enough, how clutch he is when he's facing quality competitions. Again, in his time with the Braves, he is second in Major League Baseball in RBIs when facing teams with a 550 or better winning percentage. The Braves overall have been very disappointing in quality games, especially the playoffs over the past 3 to 4 years. Matt Olson's been our one consistent source of offense. So when you put all that together, yes, we need to celebrate the fact that he has made the All-Star team this year, but it just adds to the context of how awesome of a first baseman he's been, one of the best in his generation, and obviously one of the top 3 over the past decade.
Yeah, and he hasn't missed a game since May 2nd, 2021. I think was when the streak started.
710 straight games, the longest in the game right now. Yeah.
Yeah. He is the current Iron Man in baseball. 710 straight games, almost 4.5 full seasons. Hasn't missed a game since he put on a Braves uniform. There's plenty that will tell you the best ability is availability. And no one beats Matt Olson in that category. And yeah, I do think he has an outside chance as a Hall of Fame career. He's going to have to play deeper into his 30s. He probably needs, I think he's at 2.
He's at
270,
278 home runs. Yeah.
278. He's got an outside shot at 300 this year if he gets hot in the second half. He's hit 22 homers and a half before. If he gets to 500 homers, obviously he's going to have to play until 37, 38, 39. The DH will help. The fact that he's a good defensive first baseman will help. Then yeah, he's got a shot at a Hall of Fame career. And that's what people miss. And I understand, Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman's great. Freddie Freeman's a Hall of Famer. I loved Freddie when he was here. But I don't understand the people that take that out on Matt Olson. It's not Matt Olson's fault. He's just a really damn good player. And I really hope he ages well where he gets a real legitimate shot at a Hall of Fame career, because he does have a shot. And playing the ballpark he plays in, which is favorable to lefties, he could absolutely pop 500 homers in his career. I think that's real. I think there's a real chance at that. He's got to stay healthy, but nobody stays healthier better than Matt Olson, at least the last 4 years. So we'll see what happens, but really happy for him that he had a bounce back year. It was not a great year. It wasn't a bad year last year. It just wasn't to his standard. I think it was like a 125 WRC plus or something like that last year. Just, still very good, just kind of below what I expect from Matt, because Matt's so damn good. This is what I expect, what he's doing this year. And he deserved to be an all-star. And I was pissed the way the voting went. he didn't get enough respect from Braves fans, still doesn't get enough respect from Braves fans, but he got recognition by his peers. And honestly, that's for players. I guarantee you, for a lot of players, it almost means more that you get voted in by your peers, by coaches, because, having recognition within the game is probably pretty valuable and pretty special to these guys. So good for Matt. He deserved it.
And I don't care what anybody else has to say, to be honest with you. The two best actual transactions, the two best additions outside of the organization to the Braves during the era of Alex Anthopoulos and Brian Snitker has been Matt Olson as well as Chris Sale. And this year just goes to show why that's the case. They have been the two most valuable outside additions of Alex Anthopoulos' era. Now, they're two of the three best overall transactions. And I think that you can guess what the number one transaction of all has been during the Alex Anthopoulos era. We'll discuss that plus that individual in just a moment.
Nothing beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching baseball. And the simplest way to get in on the action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for two or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Nail your picks and you're heating up. Pick 6 brings upside with payouts up to 500 times. Pick 6 from DraftKings is the most fun way to play fantasy sports. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get a special sign-up offer. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
So, Stephen, Ronald Acuna Jr. is, of course, who I'm talking about, his extension being the top transaction of the Alex Anthopoulos era. But the reason why I feel that it's significant, I'm not going to go into a stats dive with him like I did, Chris Sale and Matt Olson, because everybody knows, just how incredible Ronald Acuna Jr. is. But what stands out to me is this. He's 27 years old, and he's about to start his 5th All-Star game. Now, I'm sure that others have done that. But others I don't really know have done that coming off 2 ACL injuries, including 1 year after the first, winning MVP and starting the All-Star game that year, and then less than 2 months after coming back from a second one, starting the All-Star game again. Now, I know that it's in Atlanta, but another thing that stands out to me is we want to talk about polarizing a player that, outside the organization has had some polarizing opinions about him throughout his career. It's clear that he's also pretty popular with how often he started the All-Star game, even with being out 2 significant periods of time due to knee injuries. It's just incredible to see what he can do when he's on the field and at 100%. And it's going to be awesome to see him at the Home Run Derby and starting for Atlanta in the outfit of the All-Star game, especially in the season where we haven't had much to look forward to.
Yeah. And he was going to start. Remember, he was going to start in 2021 because he tore up his knee right before the All-Star game. He was going to start that year. And he was already voted in. That counts as one of the years he made it, but obviously he didn't play in that game. He was going to start. He was the best player in baseball that year. But yeah, he definitely has respect among his peers. I remember one time they asked Mike, I think it was at an All-Star game. They were asking all the players, like, if you had to pay money, obviously players get into games for free, but if you had to pay money to see somebody, who would you see? And Mike Trout, who was the best player on planet Earth at the time, said, I would pay to see Ronald. And people who watch Ronald, people who know the game, Chipper Jones has called him the most talented player he's ever seen in a Braves uniform. He didn't call him the best player. There's a distinction there. Obviously, Hank Aaron deserves the respect of being the best player in Braves franchise history, and so does Chipper, by the way. But Chipper Jones called him the most talented player he's ever seen in a Braves uniform. And you understand why. When the dude is locked in, he weighs 180 pounds. He can hit a ball 480 feet. Like, it's just like a perfect swing. And he just oozes like raw power. And of course, before all the knee stuff, he was fast as hell. He's still pretty fast. He's got a rocket arm. He's an extremely talented baseball player, and he's come off the second ACL this year and looked incredible. Listen, I know he got cold in the last week And, that's kind of the last thing that happened. So that's what's on everybody's mind. But let's just not forget the first month where he was Superman and he was running a 1200 OPS. And listen, he's cold right now, but Ronald's cold streaks usually last about a week. And if it lasts more than a week, that's rare. And that's another thing that makes him special is I remember in that 2023 season, his MVP season, his worst month was like a 950 OPS. Like he just doesn't go through slumps the way, other guys go through slumps, which are month-long, 6-week-long slumps. His slumps last like a week or 5 games or, 8 games or whatever. And that's valuable for a team that has a lot of streaky hitters, by the way. We don't talk about that enough. So yeah, I'm very happy for Ronald. He earned it. He deserved it. He was the best player in baseball all throughout the voting. And he earned it through the fans. And there's not a person at that All-Star game this or next weekend in Atlanta that's going to think to themselves, man, Ronnie doesn't really deserve to be here. Like they all know he is as talented a player as there is in baseball. And when he's healthy, baseball is a better sport. And all those fans of other teams that whine and moan about him, his home run trot or whatever, they would give body parts for that guy to be on their team. They would give actual body parts. I mean, I've been reading like everybody thinks the Braves are going to trade Acuna now that they've had a bad season. They would give body parts for Acuna to be on their team. So even fans that hate him love him and would take him in a heartbeat. So good for him. I'm glad he's on the All-Star team. He deserved it.
Absolutely. And we're talking about, we were talking about Chris Sale, being among the top 4 pitchers active and all that different stuff. Listen, I think this year has kind of put it into perspective what Ronald can do coming off a year off with a significant injury and just coming right back and dominating. He is a top 5 offensive player in this game. I think you could even make a case top 3. I think Ohtani and Judge obviously are 1 and 2, in whatever order you want to put them in. But I think Ronald has a case to be right there with number 3, whether Juan Soto, Bryce Harper, whoever else you want to put in that conversation. But the thing about it is this is, again, just like Chris Sale, just like Matt Olson, this isn't a right now. I'm not saying this because of the month-long hot streak that he just came over. I'm saying it after a 158 WRC plus in 2020, a 157 WRC plus when he got injured in 2021, where he legitimately was a favorite for the MVP award, a 171 WRC plus in 2023 when he won it, and so far a 182 WRC plus this year. That's the thing that I want to end the podcast on, Stephen, is that when we talk about Sale, when we talk about Matt Olson, when we talk about Ronald Acuna Jr., this isn't just some aberration. This isn't just some career year. This isn't due to a hot streak or anything along those lines. All 3 of these players, the best case being Ronald Acuna Jr., all 3 of these players are the biggest reason as to why, despite the fact that we're now going into a year and a half of utter disappointment when it comes to this Braves team, the Braves remain focused on, if it's not going to be there this year, they're going to make damn sure that they're going to try to be there in 2026 World Series contenders. These are 3 of the biggest reasons why, maybe the 3 biggest reasons, and it's awesome to see them getting center stage in Atlanta, and you hope that beyond that, we get them back into the opportunity of contributing to a contender for years to come in 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say these are the 3 best players on the team. Schwallenbach certainly would have something to say about that, and so would Drake Baldwin, but I'm fine, and Strider as well, but I'm fine saying these are the 3 best players on the team, and these 3 guys are the main reason why there is still hope for 2026, even though 2025 is not going the way anybody wants. All these guys are under contract for next year. Ronald will be another year away from the injury. Sale should be, it's just a broken bone. So he should be fine for next year. Matt Olson still in his prime. They are the reason you have hope that this is not some big rebuild the Braves are about to start, but this is just a bad year. And it's not a bad year because of these guys. There's a lot of reasons. And listen, we're going to do a full post-mortem of this season when it's time, but I can guarantee you, the reason the Braves are where they are, it has nothing to do with Chris Sale, has nothing to do with Matt Olson, it has nothing to do with Ronald Acuna Jr., except if you want to say their absence when they weren't on the field. But when they've been on the field, they've been among the best players in baseball. And obviously, being voted all-stars or being selected as all-stars is just proof that they are among the best of their peers, and they deserve it. I'm happy they got the recognition, especially happy for Chris, because after the injury, I was thinking he was going to get robbed of this. And he didn't. He still got selected, which is fantastic. Good for him. And if Matt Olson, if by some chance you're listening to this, let's do that home run derby, my guy. Let's do that derby. We already talked about it on the last show. Get Bryce Elder out there to throw some pitches for you. That uppercut, that natural uppercut swing, the chop house, Truist Park, favorable to lefties. Let's do it, bud. That's my plea.
It'd be a lot of fun to see those two, and hey, have them just go 1-2 in the order, as being off, or maybe the last two. I don't care. It's really up to what you would like to see, I guess. But it would be fun to see. And you know what? It's not like Matt Olson or Ronald Acuna Jr. need to save energy for the second half. We're not going anywhere. Yeah. So I just
have fun. Just have fun with it. They did announce Byron Buxton today, which is cool. So that means James Wood, Cal Raleigh, Byron Buxton, and Acuna are the 4 confirmed. Obviously, we're waiting on 4 more. So I'm excited about this derby. I don't get excited about derbies. I used to when I was a kid, like the Ken Griffey Jr. derbies. I used to get really excited about. I haven't in a couple of years, but this one is actually shaping up to be pretty good.
Yeah. The Byron Buxton story about his son's reaction also was really,
I saw that.
Really cool. Yeah. But hey, cannot thank you enough for joining us. I know that this is a bit of a rare edition of the Hammer Territory podcast. Hey, we're celebrating. Obviously, the Braves have a week of baseball ahead of them. 3 out in Oakland, 3 in St. Louis. Yours truly will be there.
Sacramento.
Excuse me, Sacramento. I apologize. I saw the Oakland A's via Sacramento.
Yeah.
But beyond that, still got some baseball to look forward to. And then, of course, the All-Star festivities. And we're going to have you all covered. Plus, plenty of perspective on the upcoming MLB draft. Plenty to discuss there as we get closer in time. For Stephen Tolbert, you can find him at _outliers on Twitter/X. Myself at StatsSAC on Twitter/X. Hammer Territory across all forms of social media. Part of the Foul Territory family of podcasts. Listen, I know it's been a long season. I know it's far from over. But at least over the next week or so, we have very good reasons to be able to celebrate the game that we all love. Sale, Olsen, as well as Acuna. Know that Sale's not going to pitch, but Olsen and Acuna could certainly make the most of this weekend for the Braves and Braves country. Until next time, go Braves. We'll talk to you again soon here on the Hammer Territory podcast.